This is Twit.
Talk a little bit about what Barr said, first of all.
Okay. Well, Barr was restating a position which has been various administrations have tried for the last 25 years, which is criminals are using encryption to hide from legitimate law enforcement, and therefore the police need a backdoor into encryption systems that allows them to monitor stuff with, once they've got a warrant and the rest of it, that allows them to monitor communications. So basically he said, this was, in fact, I mean, as I say, we've heard this before, but what made Barr's comments particularly disturbing was that he went into a fairly detailed explanation of why the Fourth Amendment wasn't going to protect people from this, and basically dismissed that argument. And then he seems to be getting much. He also proposed that there may be that we may have to have legislation on this one, which has been mooted in the past, was tried in the early 90s and struck down by the courts. So it does look like they're going to be really pushing this. And in a quite breathtaking display of cynicism, he explicitly said, we can wait until there's the next big public disaster, and when people are really motivated about this, push through the legislation to ensure it.
Because that's right out of the playbook. Because that's how it works.
Well, this is what the Obama administration tried with the San Bernardino shootings in 2015. And they put enormous pressure on Apple, and Tim Cook quite rightly told them to go pound sand. And then the government backed down on this one, and they found another way to get the information which they need to get hold of. And Barr put forward some really quite bizarre examples, including the 2015 shooting in Texas by a couple of Al-Qaeda members, where they were actually accompanied to the shooting by an undercover FBI agent. So I don't quite see how encryption would really have helped it, or breaking encryption would really have helped in that matter.
Yeah. Now, you had in your piece this comparison of nuclear codes and big business communications to personal privacy, which is kind of what Barr kind of compared them against. And then a quote about this amounting to flat Earth thinking. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yes, that was the delightful Matt Blaze. Basically, what Barr was saying was we're only going to backdoor consumer end devices. So the likes of you and me, we have to use broken encryption. But if you're a big business using customized encryption, or if you're the military or the US government, then you can have full safe encryption. So but what he was talking about was only extending the breaking of encryption down to consumer end devices, which, I can quite see why he's done it, because he needs big business on side if he's going to push this one through. But it kind of like it really stuck in the craw, rather. It's just like, okay, well, the plebs, they don't get security, right, but of course we need it, and big business needs it. So tough luck all you consumers getting your bank accounts raided, but that's the price of freedom, I'm afraid. You're going to have to accept it.
Yeah, you aren't as important as these other entities or whatever.
I can see where he's coming from, but it kind of avoids the fact that that's 99.9% of the population.
Right.
And you're basically just abandoning those people and saying, right, okay, we'll keep the strong in crypto, that's fine. But the rest of you, tough luck, you're out of luck.
Now, we've kind of, or at least I've kind of assumed that at some point there was going to be a push for some legislation around this. It's like, okay, well, you guys aren't going to play ball. We're going to force you to play ball. But as you stated, Barr openly, mentioned, and if this doesn't happen, then I guess I'm going to have to make this happen. Is this the first time that we've had an explicit threat along those lines of legislation to take this where they feel it needs to go?
Certainly, it's the first time in over a decade that we've had such an explicit threat about that. And the problem is, you can legislate all this all you like, but it's a question of doing it, in practice. And it's very easy to backdoor an encryption system. It's mathematically impossible, according to the best people in the business, to do it in such a way that no one else can use it. And that's the critical thing. If we mandate backdoors in our software, then China, Russia, the criminal community is going to spend an enormous amount of time and money finding these backdoors and exploiting them. So basically, we're handing the keys of the system to the Chinese and the Russians, and telling them there's a flaw there, and daring them to go and find it. And find it they will. We've seen this before in the case of Juniper firmware that had Juniper firmware that had a backdoor put into it, and that was found by bad actors and exploited. We've even going back to DVDs. Remember, they were supposed to have unbreakable encryption that would mean they could never be ripped. A couple of years, people found out a way and broadcast it, and that was the end of that particular security unbreakable security claim.
And are they at all acknowledging that that creating backdoors can be exploited and likely almost 100% will be at some point in some way exploited, or are they kind of painting over that fact, rose-tinted glasses and all that?
Well, Barr on this one, Barr he touted three particular schemes,
Right.
one of which came from GCHQ, Britain's spy agency, and isn't particularly popular, even if it's workable, which a lot of people in the industry think it isn't, and two which are frankly bonkers and are never going to work. So Barr did what politicians and law enforcement have done whenever they bring this argument up, and says it's up to the tech community to come up with this idea and with a way to do this safely and securely. And I've spoken to Winfield Diffie, Ron Rivers, Bruce Schneier, the gold standard of cryptographers. And the basic answer always comes back. You can't change mathematics. If you do this, it's going to be found.
Mm-hmm. Right. And you're putting a lot of trust into the tech companies to solve a problem that is potentially unsolvable, really, at the end of the day.
Indeed. Indeed.
Oh, sorry, go.
No, we're going to. Chris Wray, the FBI director, is speaking at the same conference that Barr was speaking at. He's actually speaking as we speak at the moment, and he's going to be pounding on the same drum, saying basically, as far as we can tell, that it's up to the tech companies to come up with this, and if they say that they can't, then tough luck, we'll legislate.
Yeah, we'll make it happen.